This is not the marketplace where, unfortunately, the person with the best service wins. As much as I would love for that to be the case, this is the marketplace with the person with the most attention wins. So when you are committed to being a secret, when you are committed to not telling anybody about your business, you're committed to losing. Welcome back to another episode of the Seven Figure Educator Podcast. My name is Dr. Erica Jordan Thomas. I'm a former teacher, former school principal, Harvard grad turned full-time entrepreneur. I'm CEO and founder of Seven Figure Educator, an organization that helps educators just like you monetize your brilliance into a seven-figure education consulting business. So on this episode, I want to talk through the market trends for 2025. So 2025 is a really interesting marketplace. There's a lot of noise out in the marketplace, and I want to help give language to what business owners might be feeling, what you might be feeling if you've been in business for a while, or if you're new to business. I can give you language to help expedite your journey in growing your business. And so how I want to structure this conversation is really getting clear on what is this marketplace that we're operating in. I want to then take that and translate that into what that means for you as a business owner, and then talk through some really specific strategies that you should be employing this year to be able to grow your business. So let's first define, what is this marketplace? Because there are folks that might be saying oh, we're in a recession, or, oh, entrepreneurship is hard. And I think it's really important to be able to name that 2025 is not the same marketplace as 2024, as 2021 or 2020. If whatever you did last year or 2 or 3 years ago, you cannot expect to be employing the same strategies, the same approach, and come out with the same outcome. And the reason being is that 2020, 2021, when we were locked in the house, we were quarantining, that was a marketplace that was extremely sales driven, where you just had folks out here doing a whole lot of things, okay? Hitting a lick, PP money, it was just a lot, right? And the consequence of that is that it manifested a lot of mistrust in the marketplace. And so when you move into, a couple years post-pandemic, we're now talking 2022, 2023, and moving into early 2024, we're now in a marketing-driven marketplace where this is where we're starting to shift back to pre-COVID of what the essence of business is really all about, of where we're building awareness of our business. We're focused on what does it mean to be able to get in front of folks, to be able to share more about our organization. And now that we're moving into 2025 and we're in the thick of 2025 with the boom of AI, which I think is really meaningful for businesses because we have the opportunity to be able to increase efficiency. But the unintended consequence of the boom in AI is now there are many people who are losing relationship connections, right? Where they're wondering, is this a bot? Is this AI? Or am I talking to a real person? So this marketplace that we're operating in, I would not straight up call it a recession, but I would call it a trust recession, where there's so much mistrust in the marketplace. And what you should be prioritizing as a business owner is you really should be prioritizing a relationship-driven approach. Yes, there are some places in your business where you can leverage AI, but at the end of the day, your clients, every single one of your leads wants to be valued, seen, and heard. And that's what you really need to be leading for in the marketplace. 2025 is also a really interesting time for entrepreneurship. So according to Forbes.com, they stated that the traditional safe job will become increasingly outdated, and small and medium-sized businesses will become the cornerstone of the modern economy. So what that means is that Forbes is predicting for this year that there is going to be a boom in entrepreneurship, that entrepreneurship, business owners like you and I are going to drive the economy. And when I hear that 2025 is a unique window of opportunity. Meaning if you have been sitting on the sidelines, now is the time to get in the game. And you could be a business owner sitting on the sidelines, and sitting on the sidelines looks like you were playing small. Your business was a secret. You were treating your business like a hobby. This is the time to go all in, because the number of business opportunities, the unique business opportunities, are now more present than ever before. Hey there, I'm popping in really quickly to make sure that you knew about my Seven Figure Business School. It doesn't happen often, but every once in a while, I teach live for 5 days straight. Baby, I'm still a teacher at heart, and it gives me so much joy to teach about the foundations of a seven-figure business. During the 5 days, I'll teach you how to package your offers, I'll teach you pricing, I'll teach you $1,000,000 sales that aren't salesy, and I'll teach you how to find folks to go and pitch your offers to immediately. So do not wait. Go ahead, head to the show notes, and I want you to click the link to sign up for our next business school. I'll see you there. So when we talk about this relationship-driven economy, when we talk about what it means to really take advantage of the window of opportunity, there's a couple of things that this means for your business. The first is that you've got to be informed in this marketplace. And when I say being informed, particularly as an education consultant, this administration is causing a lot of volatility in the marketplace. And you need to be really, really informed around the different types of funding sources, what funding sources you're currently being paid out of a business, what funding sources you could be paid out of. You need to be informed. And I'm going to say this, know my heart when I say this, is that everything that's happening underneath this administration that I did not vote for, to be very clear, everything that is happening under this administration, it feels deeply personal, because in many ways it is. And when we zoom up and think about it from a business aspect, this is another market shift. Anytime there is a new administration, it's a market shift. And you've got to be prepared as a business owner to always anticipate market shifts. So even though this feels very personal and there are attacks on civil rights, you have to be aware that this, from a business standpoint, is similar, even though it doesn't feel the same. It's as if you have a contract with a school district and they bring in a new superintendent. The context is the same. It's a market shift. So how you work through market shifts is through knowledge and information and being really informed that if someone says their funding was cut, you should be able to be a thought partner and being able to brainstorm additional funding lines that they could be paying for your services out of. That is the way to be in the driver's seat of this marketplace rather than simply being a bystander. Secondly, in this marketplace, you really have got to own and understand that attention is the new currency. This is not the marketplace where, unfortunately, the person with the best service wins. As much as I would love for that to be the case, this is the marketplace with the person with the most attention wins. So when you are committed to being a secret, when you are committed to not telling anybody about your business, you're committed to losing, right? And so part of winning season is you have got to take up space and you've got to drive attention to your business. I want to share with you a research study by Google that I think is really helpful to kind of put into context. Well, when we say attention, like what does that mean? Does that mean that I should just post on social media? Well, Google did a really interesting study that found that in order for someone to trust your brand, it takes 7 hours of engagement with your content across 11 interactions in 4 different platforms or locations. So this is called the 7-11-4 rule. 7 hours of engagement across 11 interactions in 4 different platforms. So the way to think about this, if we're thinking about 7 hours of engagement, well, if you're only posting 90-second reels, that's a hell of a lot of reels to get to 7 hours. But if you have podcast interviews, if you have a podcast, if you're going live for 30, 40 minutes, 60 minutes at a time, well, you only need 7 one-hour podcasts, right? So this is where an implication for your business is doubling down on long-form content. There's absolutely a place for short-form content in this marketplace, but when we're talking about building trust, people want to go deep and know that you're an expert. You can hide in a 90-second reel. You cannot hide in a 1-hour podcast interview. 11 interactions. This is where you want to start diversifying how you're engaging with people. An interaction could be email. It could be DMs. It could be a discovery call. It could be a webinar. It could be an in-person conference presentation. You want to be really, really intentional with how you're showing up and being able to engage with your audience. And then the 4 different platforms is really around diversifying your marketing channels. So you could be on YouTube, a newsletter to your email list, IG, and LinkedIn. Those would be 4 different platforms. So attention is the new currency, and I want you to be thinking about, where's your 7 hours of engagement coming from? What are the 11 different types of interactions and the 4 different platforms that you could be doubling down on? Next, the implication for your business is you grow your business with a 5-figure offer. So lots of folks that I'm engaging with through our community, through our clients, when they come to us, particularly when they're early stage in business, many of them are just simply underpriced. And because they're underpriced and they do not have a 5-figure offer, 6 figures feels really hard. Meanwhile, 7 figures, they just can't even wrap their mind around. So when we're talking about growing your business with a 5-figure offer, you have got to have an offer in your business that is priced at 5 figures. And 9 times out of 10, you are likely already offering something that is underpriced. You just need to price appropriately. And it could be 5 figures or pretty close if it's just a matter of a little tweaking. Once you're at the multiple 6 figures and you're now crossing into 7 figures, you've grown your business with a 5-figure offer. This is now when we need to build your offer stack down and actually start thinking through micro offers. So you grow with 5-figure offers and then you scale with micro offers. And when I say micro offers, I mean anything that's under $2,000. By the time you have crossed 7 figures, you've gotten volume, you've now built an audience. And so now you have the opportunity to put into your audience some lower ticket offer that with the volume, you could actually turn into a few tens of thousands, if not $100,000s of dollars. So grow with the 5-figure offer, scale with a micro offer. Okay, so those are a couple of, all right, well, what does this mean for your business? Now I want to talk about, well, what do you actually do? Let's talk nitty-gritty strategies. So I mentioned being able to be informed. So what does that look like in terms of an action as a business owner to actually be informed? Well, I want you to be conducting market research on your sector in your area around different funding sources. So if you have not talked to a financial secretary, talk to a financial secretary, talk to a grant writer, talk to someone in the finance department at whatever state agency, government agency. Start to have those conversations to do market research on your different funding streams. Next, what this means for your business. Somebody's gonna feel uncomfortable, and I will never tell you to do anything that I wouldn't do, or I wouldn't tell you to do anything that isn't in the best interest of your business, but I need you to be live streaming. I need you to be going live. You pick the platform. Remember, we talked 4 different platforms, whether you choose YouTube, LinkedIn, IG, Facebook, that's your business. I need you to be live streaming because live streaming gets you that long form content. It helps build trust. And I would want you to set the goal to live stream once a week, at least. At least. If you don't know what to talk about, ask ChatGPT, okay? Get a topic, go live 15, 20 minutes, and you're gonna start to feel more comfortable to where you can go live for 30, 45 minutes. But I want you to be live streaming because in a relationship-driven marketplace, live streaming is such a low-lift way to be able to nurture that relationship. Hey y'all, I want to take a quick moment to pop in. I know the episode's getting really, really juicy, but I could not miss the opportunity to make sure that you know that we are headed to Atlanta October 3rd through 5th for 7 Figure Educator Live. This is my 3-day live event. It is the only 3-day live event for education consultants who are out here making a big impact and getting a big bank. And even if you feel like your bank ain't that big yet, I want you in the room because that's how your bank gets bigger. Okay, I have curated a very special 3-day agenda that includes powerhouse speakers, 7, 8, 9-figure speakers, intentional networking to find your people, to find your next opportunity. Y'all, we're getting ready to take the city over, and we're taking it over at a 5-star property, okay? Meet me in Atlanta, October 3rd through 5th. Grab your ticket by heading to 7figureeducator.com. I'll link it in the show notes, and I'll see you there. All right, let's talk about a couple of sales pieces when we're thinking about this marketplace and what this means for you. I want you to invest in a high quality client relationship management tool, a CRM. So when we're thinking about a relationship-driven marketplace, you got to have a place to be able to store client data, to store client information. So that way, you know where every person is on their journey with you. You can reach out to be able to embed those personal conversations, a way to be able to capture notes from different calls and recall that information. A CRM allows you to have access to that data ongoing to be able to use it in your sales process. And then establish a micro offer. Now, I only say this for folks who are at multiple six figures, if not cross seven. Establishing a micro offer of $2,000 or less allows you to be able to just address the low-hanging fruit and not leave money on the table. And then lastly, I want you to be thinking about, from a finance standpoint in this marketplace, there's two pieces that I want you to be thinking about. First, I want you to establish a personal development budget. No matter what, do not cut this budget. When we're in a marketplace where buying cycles are longer and you're thinking through how to continue to grow your revenue and you're experimenting, you're having to do some pivots, people feel very tempted to cut in their budget, which is totally what you should be thinking about as a CEO. But the first place that people often go is they cut coaching and they cut professional development. Absolutely not. There are two places in my budget I would never cut. No matter what our revenue, no matter what our business is going through, I would never cut marketing and I would never cut my professional development budget. So establish that in your budget. I always recommend allocating 10 to 20% of your desired revenue for professional development. So if your desired revenue is $200,000, you need to be allocating $20,000 to $40,000 for your own professional learning. And then lastly, apply for lines of credit. The best time to get a line of credit is when you don't need it. So talk to your bank, talk to different local credit unions in your area. If you have already existing accounts with different financial institutions, reach out to them to be able to have those conversations around lines of credit, because the best time to lock it in is when you don't need it. So hopefully this is super helpful for you. This is just a highlight of some of the pieces that I have outlined in our 2025 Market Trends Reports for Education Consultant. So I have a full deep report that goes even deeper into strategies, that goes even deeper into what this means for your business. So we'll link it in the show notes for you to be able to actually grab the full report, so that way you are positioned and ready to take this marketplace by storm. I hope you found this episode really meaningful. Let me know in the comments what stuck out to you, your aha, what was the juiciest nugget that you took from today. And if you found this episode meaningful, I got two requests for you. Hit the subscribe button so that way you know when the next episode drops, and then share it with a friend, because sharing is caring, and we are on a mission to ensure that as many educators as possible have access to a blueprint to build their financial freedom. I'll see you back here on the next episode of the Seven Figure Educator Podcast.